Greetings and welcome back, Truth Seekers. It is I, your host, Athanasius, on the Athanasius Reports, doing a weekly vlog here, and this is the first one I've done. The other two videos that I've posted up so far on my channel have been letters to entities within the Catholic Church. It is the 3rd of July. I'm recording this in the evening right now after spending all day enjoying the fact that my wife has been out of the house and is giving me an opportunity to catch up on movies and shows that I've been wanting to see for a little bit here. So during this broadcast, if you happen to hear a bunch of popping sounds in the background, well, the neighborhood I live at loves celebrating July 4th all weekend long, so you're probably hearing fireworks going off in the background. Don't worry, as long as they don't go silent for a long period of time, it means that they haven't shot me yet. So as I begin this blog here, I want to first give a shout out to all the service members out there, both home and abroad, and all our first responders out there. Thank you very much for keeping us safe this July 4th weekend and the rest of the year as well. Your sacrifices are truly appreciated, and even though I'm not active anymore, I'm now in the reserves, I still do appreciate everything that my fellow active duty members still go through. For anybody that's on deployment that happens to be catching this, stay safe, guys, and hope you come home soon. So to give a little introduction to these vlogs here, I want to use them as a means to talk about stories that have happened in the past week, stories that either have gone nationally or things that may not have been too well known and I want to get out more. I also want to kind of share my thoughts on some things in life, not necessarily go entirely philosophical. There's plenty of channels that'll do that, and you know what, I'm not the philosophical type unless you get a beer in my hand here, and I'm not drinking, and so I guess I can't be philosophical tonight. But anyway, I'm digressing here, I apologize. So I guess the first topic we're going to hit on today is the topic of hope and why I think it is the most important virtue. I believe hope to be the most important virtue because without it, you don't really have the mind to be able to accept the other virtues and be able to work towards them. Hope is the glue that keeps humankind together because without hope, how is it that we can look forward to better times? How is it that we can look towards our fellow man and see the goodness in him and not necessarily, the evil, the bad, or the indifferent, and so forth. This was a thought that had occurred to me a couple weeks ago, and I've been kind of stewing on it and thinking it over, and every time I come back to it, I realize that hope has been really important in my life. Just to share a little personal story here to let you understand, where I'm coming from on my mindset here. So in future videos, you also understand a little bit of how my mind works here. A few years back, while I was active duty, I went through a really, really rough time. And it was truly a dark night of the soul. I didn't feel God's presence near me. I didn't feel that anybody really cared about me. I really hit rock bottom, and there was just a lot of pressure. There was a lot of stress. There was a lot of other negative outside influences that was really affecting my mindset and really bringing me down to the point where I found myself looking over the side of the ship in the dead of night and looking in the Black Sea and thinking, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to jump. Nobody would miss me. Nobody would notice I was gone. And by the time that they bothered to turn around, it already would have been too late. So I had gotten this idea in my head that it was a good idea to go ahead and kill myself. What kept me from leaning over that ledge that night and jumping off, and I can still remember this completely vividly. It's one of those memories that just sticks with you forever. I can still remember just how black everything looked and just the faint glow of the sea below me and the sound of the ship. Believe me when I say that I'm not looking to try to make this a pity part or anything. It's just something that's, always stuck with me since that night. But, what kept me from jumping off into that sea was a faint little glimmer of hope that somewhere deep in the recesses of my mind, something somewhere said, don't give up. Don't give up. Things will get better in time. And I pulled back from the rail that night, and since then I've been doing a lot of internal focus, a lot of praying, a lot of soul searching, and I've generally come to believe that a lot of people that end up in those type of situations are those that stick with terrible situations because they lose hope. They don't see themselves as worthy enough to be able to gain something greater than themselves. I bring this up first and foremost, one, to establish my mindset. And when I do these videos, I may seem angry at times. It may seem that I don't care about my fellow man because I'm really hard and I'm being harsh and using harsh language on them. But really, it's because I have hope that maybe eventually, someday, my words could help inspire somebody to turn their life around, or to get somebody in a position of authority to realize that what it is that they're doing is wrong and they need to correct it themselves. Now, will it ever happen? Who knows? Okay, I may just be, whistling in the wind, but it's that hope that drives me to do these videos. This hope that if I can affect at least one life, if I can at least help one person out there to do better, or to seek God, or to be strong in their faith, or just use a little more common sense when dealing with everyday life items, that to me makes these videos all the worthwhile. So in continuing with the theme of hope, much like our forefathers 240 years did when they passed the Declaration of Independence telling England to go jump off a short pier, the British people have recently just voted to go tell the EU to stick it in their pipe and smoke it. And I have to tell you, I am really excited about this. This is one of the greatest achievements in our lifetime, to see the British people finally coming together and saying enough is enough. We have had enough of the unelected bureaucrats in Brussels who tell us such stupid things like the exact curvature a piece of a vegetable is supposed to have. Who cares? Vegetables should be edible. I don't care if my banana is supposed to have a 3-inch curve when only it has a 2.5-inch. Who cares? Can I eat it? Sure, great. But these bureaucrats in Brussels don't care. And the British people have had enough. They've had enough of the inane regulations that are really hurting business. They've had enough of these stupid taxes. They've had enough of the imbecilic immigration laws, which are bringing in millions of peoples from countries that do not share Western values and that actively rape, murder, and steal from them. But who cares, according to the people of Brussels, because we're doing good work here. What good work? But I'll get more to that later. Congratulations on Britain. I'm glad that you guys are finally taking your destiny into your own hands here. And I believe that it is going to be a good sign for the rest of the world. I mean, we're already seeing other countries starting to develop referendums to tell the EU to stick it. Now, the EU, of course, is not taking this sitting down. They're trying to form a super state, much like our federal government and our states here. I don't know if they'll ever get a chance to pass it. I don't know if they'll ever get a chance to enact it, but they sure as hell are going to try. They're not going to let their power slip from them. And so I encourage that the rest of the European members to tell these yahoos in Brussels to go screw themselves and to take all their take their one unified Europe idea and cram it. This message also goes out to the Catholic bishops over there that are decrying the recent Brexit vote, saying that it's breaking apart the unity of the European Union. Well, good. You guys shouldn't be supporting the unity of a secular state that promotes such evils as abortion, euthanasia, and bringing over peoples that do not want Christians to practice their faith. So instead of supporting these idiotic bureaucrats in Brussels that want to bring about a secular state, why don't you instead push to try to revitalize the faith in Europe? Now that that's out of my system, moving on. The other good effect I see Brexit having is that I believe it gives a number of people here in the United States hope for the upcoming elections. And there's a lot, and I mean a lot of noise that is going on right now about the elections, about, the the Hillary email hearings and Trump and the polls, and can he get support from the rest of the RNC, and what are Bernie Sanders supporters going to do? And honestly, people, we need to settle down a little bit here when it comes to this election cycle, and especially with the polls here. It is really too early to come up with any sort of definitive idea of what's really going to be happening in November. We still have, this is July, so we got 4 months left before the elections. A lot is going to happen between now and then. So anytime you see the news media coming out with polls showing, oh, Trump is down by 7 points, or Hillary's up by, so many points, or Hillary's down, or whatever, just remember two things. First thing is, polls are meaningless until the day of election, because they're just a sample size. And when you look at the sample size, you need to dig down and see, okay, how many people, not only how many people were interviewed, but what were the demographics of these polls here? And you'll find that a lot of them, especially those that are showing Hillary up +6 or +7 or whatever, you'll find that the percentage of, asking Democrats versus asking Republicans the exact same question, there are a lot more Democrats that were asked over Republicans. Yeah, that doesn't seem like it could skew the polls one way or the other anyway. Sure. The second thing you need to remember is that polls are nothing more than a snapshot at that particular time, and not really a good snapshot. They're the newspapers of election information, if you will. Newspapers aren't able to print anything but old news. They can't, unless you go to the digital site. I'm talking about old, paper copies that you fold out on the Sunday table while you're having breakfast, and you immediately go to the funnies because that's the only real good thing in a newspaper anymore. But again, I digress here. They're a snapshot, but they're old because polls take time. You have to call around. You have to ask people questions, and you have to compile the data. And usually it takes about a week to ask people the questions and then compile the data and then publish it. So really what you're getting is, almost week-old information about what people thought. I mean, it's not the most accurate means to judge what exactly is going to happen. So I just ask that, people relax, take a deep breath, okay? Yes, this election cycle is going to be crucial. Yes, we should do everything we can to make sure that Hillary Clinton does not get into the White House. And yes, we have to make sure that we keep all of our politicians and elected officials and those in charge of the elections honest during the entire election process. But for right now, we still have 4 months. There is plenty of time to be able to get our information out to make the argument for our candidate. And if you haven't figured out already, yes, I am for Trump. I will openly declare it because despite, some of his personal issues, okay, I still think that he's a hell of a lot better than Hillary Clinton, and there is no third-party candidate qualified enough to be able to take the spot. And I don't want to hear about the Libertarian Party and Gary Johnson. For those trying to push that down our throats, please do me a favor, grab a hammer, hit yourself up against the head about it. Maybe that'll knock some sense into you. Because Gary Johnson doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting elected. Not only does he not have name recognition across, he is dry toast, boring. Oh my gosh, I want to put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger because anything is better than listening to that milquetoast dud. And then at the same time, those trying to push him as an alternative to, say, Donald Trump, he did say, Gary Johnson, said that he agreed with Bernie Sanders about 70% of the time. Yeah, sounds real libertarian to me. So, yeah, just knock it off, okay? You have Trump or Hillary. Those are your two choices. And no, it's not a choice between getting shot and getting poisoned, as that idiot Lindsey Graham would have you believe. No, it's a choice between whether this country is going to survive another 4 to 8 years and maybe get back on the right track, or whether this country is finally going to be sold out to the globalist elite, the Muslims, and every other foreign entity that wants to see us brought down a peg or two. So those are your two choices. Stop with the third-party candidates. Stop with all these other fanciful ideas of trying to take away the nomination from Trump at the RNC convention and giving it to someone like Cruz or McCain or, oh God, not Romney. Wow. In a competition between who I find to be more milquetoast, him or Gary Johnson, I would prefer to just, put my head in a vat of acid rather than have to go through that. But I digress. I'm sorry. So your choices are Trump or Hillary. That's it. Get your head out of your butts. Let's get in the game here. Relax, stay focused, pray, and pray. At some point in the future, I will do a couple videos listing out the moral case for why we need to vote in this election, and also the moral cases for why you need to oppose Hillary Clinton and why Trump actually is the more moral of the two choices. I guess I could let slip one item here that is near to my heart, but just how the military is handled. Not really a moral issue, but it is certainly one that I have been dealing with for the past, I don't know how many years I've been in now. Past 7 years that we have had a Democrat in the office, the military has just been dumped on completely. It has been turned into a social experiment ground. The military is not being allowed to do its job. Instead, we are now allowing the gays to openly serve, and now the transgender, as of July 1st, 2016, get to openly serve as well. And if you care about the military, okay, you don't want to put Hillary in because she's going to do the same things that Obama is doing. Look, I don't care what you do in your personal life, but I care about unit cohesion. I'm a naval officer. When I get my unit together, I expect them to be able to work as a team, to be able to accomplish the mission as a team, and to be able to do things in the appropriate manner. I don't need outside distractions keeping them from doing their job. And this whole, letting gays serve openly, letting, transgenders now serve openly, nothing was wrong with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because it worked on all angles. Didn't matter if you were heterosexual, homosexual, didn't matter. Just keep your private life to yourself. Whatever you do with whomever in the bedroom, just shut up about it. But now they want to try to throw everything out in the open because it's not about fighting the enemy anymore. It's about fighting the Christians who are uncomfortable talking about these issues and don't want to support these issues because of their moral religious beliefs. This is nothing more than another attack, another front on trying to demoralize the military and getting rid of all the good people that are within the military, so the military stops thinking that their primary job is to uphold the Constitution and protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and instead starts thinking that they just are supposed to take orders from the commander-in-chief or whoever the elected officials are, many of whom have never served and have no experience. And quite frankly, I really, truly, honestly believe that if you're going to be making decisions about the military, you should have at least served in the military. It is sad to see these men and women who tell us what to do, who think that they know better, and all they're doing is getting us killed. And all they're doing is causing more families to cry as coffins are unloaded off of a plane. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of these numbskulls being in charge of us. And I'll still do my duty, and yes, I will obey lawful orders when they come down, but I'm tired of following these people. I really am. They don't know what the hell they're doing. They really don't. And all they're doing is hurting those of us that want to do our job. They're keeping us from doing our job. They're keeping us from winning, and they're keeping us from protecting this country. So if you don't want that, don't vote for Hillary. Also, these past couple of weeks, I've been hearing a lot of chatter about Hillary Clinton and her emails, and this weekend she got called into the FBI to do a 3-hour-plus interview with them on record about her email server and the status of her emails and so forth. And I'm not really expecting anything to come from this. the whole system is pretty crooked, and they're going to be protecting her. I mean, look who's in the White House. You have Obama, the king of lies. Actually, no. Satan would be the king of lies. Prince of lies. He's a liar. Who cares? Anyway, if Obama the liar, and he's putting a bunch of his lying, cheating, thieving, communist cronies all throughout the system there, including Loretta Lynch, she's not going to pull an indictment here. I mean, I would be shocked if they did. I truly would be. Would I jump for joy? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I would jump for joy if, they happen to indict her. But even if they did indict her, it's not really going to do much in the long run. With everything that happened this week with, Bill Clinton meeting Loretta Lynch and that airplane on the tarmac in Phoenix, honestly, I believe that, there's some people like Rush Limbaugh was putting the theory that, we're being played, that this was just, another kabuki dance in the infamous, Clinton crime family. Others are saying that, oh, Loretta Lynch really stepped in it now, or Bill Clinton really stepped in it now. It's just, I honestly don't know where this is going to end up in the long run here. I really don't, except to say that I don't see Hillary Clinton getting indicted, let alone convicted within this administration. To say the least, I kind of had the same feeling about the Benghazi hearings. It would have been nice if the report had hammered her a lot more than it did, but I feel that what we got out of the Benghazi hearings was that, yeah, Obama and Hillary made a mistake, but there's other issues to fry. I didn't really think that they put enough focus on how Hillary Clinton mismanaged and botched her time within the State Department. And it's a crying shame. Those two were responsible for 4 American deaths. And not only that, but then they had the audacity to lie to the grieving families over their sons' coffins. There's a special place in hell for those type of people, and I sure don't want to be there when they end up in the final judgment and end up getting what they deserve. All the news about the Benghazi hearings and what's going and what happened with Bill and Loretta Lynch and the FBI interview with Hillary Clinton. You just have to remember that the Clintons have been doing this for 40 plus years. They know the system inside and out. They know how to say things without really saying things. I'm pretty sure that the meeting between Bill and Loretta, with something along the lines of, hey, you remember those, that sudden case of, suicide-itis that we had amongst our staff members there? Yeah, I hear that it may be spreading around again. It may be a side effect of, the dreaded Zika virus. And I would really hate for you and some of your staff members to catch it. It would be really unfortunate to have you guys, just all of a sudden wind up in a park with 2 gunshot wounds to the back of your head. I mean, that's just, really, really unfortunate. These people know what they're doing. They're going to do everything they can to not get caught. I hope one day that it finally catches up to them and that justice is finally served. But I feel that with people this evil, that the only way that they have not gotten caught is because they have the devil on their side, and they won't get their true justice until they finally die and go before the Lord. Keep praying that, these people get caught and they get put away, because we don't need them mucking up this country any more than they have been. But at the same time, I don't want to say don't hope or don't get your hopes up, but just keep it in the back of your mind that we're dealing with people that know the system inside and out, and they know how to play the system. And so chances are it's probably not going to happen. Not in this world, at least. Now, switching gears and moving across the seas, this past couple of weeks we've seen a number of attacks, most notably the suicide bombings in Turkey, where 3 suicide bombers opened fire into a crowd and then detonated vests, killed, I heard 50 at first, and then I think it ended up being over 30, and then there's over 100 injured. What I want to highlight is that the tactic that they used was that the first guy started the events, got everybody panicking and running into specific areas. They figured out where people would be running if they attacked in that particular area, And so then when the people actually started coming out in the area, the other two were waiting to try to catch a few more. I don't say it's a brilliant maneuver because I hate to give them any sort of credit, but it is certainly something that needs to be acknowledged and addressed for the future, that we can't assume that anytime that somebody attacks us that it's just going to be a lone wolf attack. It could just be the beginning of a more coordinated attack, and we could be in the first guy could try to be herding people into a more enclosed area where greater damage could be done, as was the case here in Turkey. What I'm trying to get at here is that, yes, we need to be vigilant, but at the same time, I think we also need to get into a mentality that when dealing with these people, that you have to already assume that you're dead. It's a harsh thing to accept your own death, but you have to put yourself into the shoes of the terrorist and realize that what is their goal? Their goal is to kill as many people as possible. So when they start firing, you have to assume that you're already dead. You just don't know it yet. And why I bring this up is because people ran from these guys, but they ran without putting up a fight. I understand some people are going to say, well, these guys had suicide vests. I mean, if you fought the guy, he was just going to blow himself up. Okay, sure, he probably would have, but what if they don't have a suicide vest? I mean, how do you know if the guy has a suicide vest on, when he's firing a gun at you? You're focusing more on the gun and where he's firing than you are about, what his fashion sense is and what he's wearing underneath his cloak or what have you. The point I want to make, though, is that we need to start fighting back against these people. The only real way that we are going to save ourselves in the end is we cannot allow ourselves to just be lambs to the slaughter. Sure, when the guy is firing, duck behind some things, find some cover or whatever. But when the guy is changing magazines, that is the perfect time to bum rush the SOB. And he may, get another magazine in and, load it up and, maybe start firing off a couple rounds. But I guarantee you that although he may get the first couple of you guys, if you bum rush him, he won't get all of you. And if you do that, you could save more lives. And I'm going to transition now and give you another example of what happened in Bangladesh. They ran into a food store or cafe, and the people that were there, they had ample time to fight back if they so desired, but instead the Muslims rounded them up and then started asking them one by one to recite the Quran, and they couldn't, and they macheted them or shot them or what have you. It's this sheep mentality that we have towards terrorists. This idea that if I just comply with their wishes, that I'm somehow going to get out. I'm going to get through this. It's time that we stop with this mentality. It is time that we say to ourselves that as soon as these SOBs start shooting at us, we need to stop cowering in fear. We need to not listen to their demands, but we need to fight back. And we need to, if they're gonna take us down, then take them with you. And for those that are disagreeing with me over this point here, you are free to do so. It is America. You have every right to choose to believe what you want to believe and say what you want to say. But I would strongly ask you to take a look at what happened in our own homeland here in Orlando. The guy that went in, one guy, shot hundreds of people, killed 49. During that time, though, he had to change his magazine. He had to reload his weapon. At any of those times, people could have tried to stop him. Throw a chair at him, take a glass, throw it at him, break a bottle, all right, and try to stab him with it. Whatever they could get their hands on. Instead, no, people ran. They ran into the bathroom, re-cornered some. They ran instead of ducking for cover and then attacking when they had the chance. I guarantee you, if at least one person had the courage enough to stand up and fight back against the guy, you wouldn't have had as many dead. You can disagree with me on that fact all you want. Fine, go ahead. The only thing I'm going to say to your argument is that being a military man, I know that inaction leads to death. If you don't do anything, you're going to die. And so it is oftentimes better to make the least worst decision because you have a better chance of survival than to sit around and do nothing, in which case you're dead for sure. Now, there was another incident involving a Islamic immigrant in this country that I'm sure a lot of people didn't hear. It was first broke on WND.com, and the mainstream media has been trying to bury it ever since. And what happened was a elderly grandma, like 89-year-old grandma, had saw some suspicious activity at her apartment complex laundry room. So she goes in there to see what's going on, and inside she finds a little 5-year-old handicapped girl, butt naked, with 3 Iraqi and Somalian immigrant children, ages 7, I think 10, and 14. The 10-year-old and the 14-year-old were also butt naked. The poor girl also smelled of urine, and she was crying, and she was scared. Well, she called 911, and authorities came by and found out that these 3 immigrant youths had lured the little girl into that laundry room, stripped her naked, peed on her, peed in her mouth, and sexually molested her while one of them was filming it. There's a lot of things that really tick me off about this story. The first thing being that the obvious crime against this little girl, made worse by the fact that she is mentally and physically handicapped and unable to defend herself. Also, given her age and the ages of the boys, it is also more difficult for her to defend herself as well. I truly believe that there is another special place in hell for those that abuse children. And I hope that these kids repent, because I don't really see any way that they're not going to, get out of that one. There's another facet to this story that also ticks me off, is that after the children were arrested and they were put into the juvenile detention center, they were released back to their families. As soon as they got back to their families, you would think that the parents would, smack the kids up the backside of the head, or they'd be apologetic to the victim's family. No. As soon as the kids got back into their family's arms, the entire family started, cheering, doing that stupid Muslim cry, raising their hands up in the air, just making a big scene about, oh, their babies were back in their hands. Well, I'm glad you got your babies back. But what about that poor child that got molested? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't care about her because she's not a Muslim. And that's what ticks me off about people that defend that religion. It's not enough that these people come into our country and take advantage of our welfare, take advantage of our good graces. They don't assimilate. They don't learn our language. They don't learn our laws. They instead secretly enact their Sharia law. They turn the neighborhoods that they reside in into little Afghanistans or little Mogadishus or what have you. We should not be putting up with this at all. We really should not. These families should be deported. They should be on the next plane going back to whatever third world Islamic hellhole they came from, because they obviously cannot abide by our laws and rules here. And then there's another little wrinkle to this tale, and that is there's a female attorney general over there that is threatened to take legal action against anybody that even mentions this story or tries to bring any sort of shame upon the families. I thought we lived in America. I thought that we were allowed to discuss whatever issues that we found important to us, that we were able to speak our minds about what it is that we find good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter, to put out this threat. And that's really what this is. This is a threat. Shows the complete disdain these people have for our First Amendment rights, for our God-given rights to speech, to speak our minds. And I hope that somebody takes her up on that offer. I hope somebody, if somebody gets a letter from her telling the cease and desist, I hope they take her to court and I hope they clean her clock. Enough of these people. I hope that little girl will, in time, be able to overcome this tragedy. I hope that the family of the little girl will be able to get her the help that she needs. But more importantly, I hope that we, the American people, wake up and see that we are not having immigrants come to this country. We are being invaded by a group of people that do not care for our laws, our beliefs, our way of life. They believe in a 7th century system that treats women like property, that kills gays, that kills non-believers, and opposes anything that is not according to their beliefs. We should not be bringing these people over to this country. We should not be bringing these people over here unless they have the desire to assimilate in with the rest of us, learn our language, learn our laws. They can keep their religion. All right? If they want to go and be a faithful Muslim, fine. Just don't blow me up. If you want to go, put your head in the sand and your ass in the air, go ahead. Go do that 5 times a day for all I care. But don't bring your third world, backwater, medieval, torturous ways into my country. You come here to be American. You want to be Iraqi? Go back to Iraq. You want to be a Somalian? Go back to Somalian. Yes, almost every one of us came from an immigrant family. But you know what? Those that came here back in the 1800s, early 1900s, they came with the express purpose to be an American. They wanted to be an American. They wanted to be part of a society that preached freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to own a gun, freedom to defend yourself. They came here and they assimilated. The horde that is coming into our country today, they are not assimilating. It's just like the fall of the Roman Empire. When you got the Goths, the Visigoths, the Huns, all these other barbarian hordes coming in. They're not integrating. They're not becoming Roman. They kept their customs and so forth, and it tore the empire apart. It's going to do the same thing here. Whether you want to admit it or not, doesn't matter. It's going to happen, and it's already happening. Now, I don't want to leave off this vlog on such a sour note, so I'm going to give a nice, happy, joyful story. Because, surprisingly, not according to the news, but it does happen. There are good stories. There are good deeds that still happen within this country. So I want to share you one that I heard this past week here. So a man was buying groceries for him and his family when a young man came up, probably about, I think it was like 14, 15, and offered to carry his groceries out to the car if the man would buy him a pack of donuts for food. So the man said, well, wait a minute, that's kind of an unusual question. What's going on? Started asking what was happening. Well, the young man had said that this was the only way that he could get food because it was him and his mom, and they didn't really have any food. So he was trying to help people take their groceries out to the car in exchange for them buying, some food for him to eat. Well, out of the kindness of his heart, the gentleman that had bought groceries went back and bought a lot of groceries for the son and the mom, and gave the son a ride back to his home and helped to unload the groceries into the home there. Well, when the gentleman got into the home, realized that the mom and the son had virtually nothing. They had very, very little furniture. I think they had like a refrigerator. They didn't even have a proper bed. Maybe a couple lamps lying around. They lived very, very destitutely. So this guy went on to GoFundMe and asked for donations to be able to get them some basic furniture, beds, and so forth, just to help them out. Well, what's really awesome to this is that the people that contributed originally, the original demand was something like $2,700 just for basic furniture and so forth. Well, they ended up raising almost 6 figures for this mother and son. So the son now has a trust fund for when he goes to college, and they were able to get out of the terrible place that they were living at. They got into some temporary housing while they get their life back in order here. It's really a great story to kind of finish off this vlog, to show that there still are good people out there. There's still people that do take care of their fellow man. And before I forget, those thinking that if the mother and son were living in such poor condition that they weren't really trying to improve their situation, whatever, the kid, the son, was a straight A student. He realized that the way to get out of his situation was he had to do real well in school to be able to get a good job and so forth in the end. So we're not talking about people that got themselves into the situation and they just let themselves stew there. We're talking about people that fell in hard times and were trying to dig themselves out of it, and they just need a good helping hand. And that should be the lesson that we should finish off on, that it's better to give a hand up than a hand out, because a handout only perpetuates the unfortunate situation that these people find themselves in. A hand up gives them that hope, and we'll finish off on hope here, to be able to take that next step forward and be able to improve their life and make themselves better. Thank you very much for listening this first vlog of the Athanasius Report. I hope everybody has a happy and safe 4th of July. I know I will be enjoying myself with a nice little bit of scotch and a nice cigar smoking. So I hope to see everyone again on the next Athanasius Report. Take care, be safe.